Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We are the Pensioners for Independence, Greater Glasgow branch of the Pensioners for Independence, and we have come here today to point out, to show and publicise that building over there and its nefarious function. It looks just like one of many faceless, this wee obscure square that hardly anybody ever walks through has got lots of these faceless glass buildings, and it looks just the same. But it is there to destroy Scottish democracy. It's there to undermine and possibly eventually abolish our hard-fought-for Scottish Parliament. And most people working through here won't know that. If you can cast your minds back to before we had the Scottish Parliament, back then, before prescription charges were abolished, before tuition charges were abolished, before bridge tolls were abolished. Until then, we didn't have a parliament to express the fact that we were a different country with different geography and different priorities from south of the border. Back then, we were ruled by a Secretary of State for Scotland, which Malcolm Rifkin himself, who had the job, described as being like a Governor General. And he was appointed from London to override every democratic body in Scotland. And the idea was that once we got a democratic parliament, the office of Secretary of State would wither away, would be redundant. And so it happened at first. The role of Secretary of State was tacked on to something more important down there, like Department of Transport and various things like that. And that's how it was going to go, and he would gradually sink into his grave, like, unfortunately, like Dracula, and rise again. Because after the 2014 referendum, the UK government was horrified at how close the vote had been, and they were even more horrified when in the wake of that, the SNP started winning landslide after landslide at every single election they put themselves in for. And the UK government, who hadn't been paying attention to Scotland, suddenly realised a horrible truth, that the reason the Scots hadn't gone for independence before was because they had no confidence in themselves. And what had given them confidence now? Their parliament. They'd now got a parliament that showed us that we were able to run our own affairs very competently, whether we were under Labour, Lib, Lab, or whether we were under the SNP. So that had never been in the UK plan. So they decided that right there and then, they started putting Holyrood into a box. They started taking back powers which had been devolved to the Scottish Parliament. They stopped Scotland from putting itself under the protection of the international rights of the child, and they boosted the office of the Secretary of State for Scotland. In fact, if you look at the Secretary of State for Scotland's website, the very first line in his mission statement is to maintain the Union, maintain the integrity of the Union, that's how they put it, maintain the integrity of the Union. Now, look at that word, integrity, very well picked. Integrity has two totally different meanings. Applied politically, it does mean union, but much more commonly it's applied to an individual. That's the meaning that most people understand, and it means somebody who's very ethical and high moral standards, and altogether a good type of person. So they use the word integrity instead of what they really mean, which is tighten the vice on Scotland. So, now we have Alistair Jack, our current Governor General, or I prefer the phrase puppet governor, because I think he's micromanaged. I don't really think he thinks for himself at all. So he started using a little known clause, which another Tory, Michael Ancram, referred to as the Governor General clause, funnily enough, in the Scotland Act, which means that the UK government, if the whole of the government does anything they don't like, or even anything that they think's a wee bit, too different from what England does, then they can ban it. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's starting with a couple of laws. Now, this is not about the Gender Recognition Reform Act, and any more than it's about recycling bottles, which Wales has had to pull back on. Because after all, in a couple of years' time, the UK government's possibly going to pass these laws itself. But it's about who passes the laws, who takes the priorities of Scotland, decides the priorities of Scotland, who decides the values of Scotland. It's about control freakery. And we in Scotland know all about control freakery, because we've been controlled by freaks down in London for 300 years. And that is where it's all happening. That is the colonial headquarters. That building grew up from nowhere a couple of years ago. There's a similar one in Edinburgh, in a similar street, a wee quiet square just behind the Royal Mile that nobody knows about, with only a cafe beside it for the workers. So, so we've got the colonial headquarters in Edinburgh, we've got the colonial headquarters in Glasgow, we've got the Scottish office, which has expanded to thousands and thousands of staff from being down to about 10 or something after the referendum. That place alone has got 2,500 in it, and covering 10 different departments of the UK government. Don't be fooled, it's only about tax, it's not. The one in Edinburgh has got 11 different departments operating from it. So, we won't find out in the media where this building is. Remember where it is. Remember where it is, and that's it. Okay.
Let's just hear what the polls have got to say.